It was a lovely and warm spring morning like any other, with the sun's rays shining brightly through the bathroom window. Sadly, in spite of that, all was not well. As Henry stood in front of the bathroom mirror, he thought to himself in misery, "Oh no, not again." Like many teenagers, Henry was suffering from acne. At first there had been just the odd spot here and there. Lately, though, it really had become a big, embarrassing problem. Now, as he saw clearly in the mirror, there was a pimple right on the side of his nose. Because Henry has big plans for this weekend, this couldn't have come at a worse time. He's taking his new girlfriend out on a date Saturday evening. This can't be happening, Henry thought to himself. His parents, very supportive with his acne problem, have been taking him to one of the best dermatologists in his town. Despite medication and facial cleansing agents, though, he still gets zits. This is especially so when he becomes stressed, and this date with Cynthia has been stressing him out big time. He frantically cleans the pimple, and as he does so, it looms even larger in his mind. Even though he knows all too well that he shouldn't squeeze the pimple, impulsively his hands and fingers close in. As a result of touching and pressing it, the spot becomes even redder, bigger, and uglier. "Henry, what on earth happened to you?" his mother exclaims as she approaches to have a closer look. Henry's mood is now seriously unhappy and cross. Mostly, though, he's sad and at a loss of what to do with the latest thing on his nose. This was not the time for his sister Angie to jokingly say, "Hi, Rudolph," referring to Santa's favorite reindeer with the red nose. Mom, examining the bruised pimple, reminds Henry not to squeeze his pimples, to take his medicine, drink lots of water, and use the medicated facial soap that the dermatologist recommended. What caused the new pimple, though, is due to something Mom can't see underneath it. A war is raging, a microscopic war with a formidable enemy, and fortunately, equally formidable soldiers fighting back. The enemy is made up of disease-forming microorganisms called bacteria. The soldiers fighting back are brave single-cell units called white blood cells. New soldiers arrive in the millions to fight the deadly toxins the bacteria are secreting. Even more worrying to the commander is that the number of bacteria seem to double every couple of minutes. This is a strategic battle. The bacteria want to invade the body, and the white blood cells are frantically defending it. Some white blood cells attack with chemical missiles called antibodies, while others engulf the bacteria and start to literally eat them one by one. Small blood vessels in Henry's body, called capillaries, have doors that open up and offload new white blood cell soldiers to wage this war in which the fighters number in the many millions. The battle is fierce and has been raging for a number of hours now. Although it might be hard to imagine, there are heaps of dead bacteria and dead white blood cells lying in heaps everywhere. The bacteria are slowly but surely getting greater amounts of toxins to pass the security checks of the Defense Army. More and more bacteria come on the scene to join the war and expand the borders of this battle. At 3 a.m, Henry slowly drifts into consciousness. He feels dreadful. Despite the warm springtime temperatures, he's freezing cold. Moaning from a dull headache, he drags himself out of bed and gets his winter blanket from the drawer. For a while, he continues to feel too cold, but then he starts sweating, and so the night goes on with poor Henry going from freezing to sweating in a torturous loop, over and over, each time keeping him awake until he mercifully falls asleep again. Even then, it's a restless sleep. Henry dreams of little green monsters, another effect of the grim reality happening inside his body. Henry is unable to wake up when Mom calls, "Wake up, Henry! You're going to be late for school." The first, second, and third call for Henry to get up fall on deaf ears. It takes Dad walking in sternly, demanding action before Henry is able to get up. Henry is red with fever, confused and dizzy. Mom measures his fever. "There's no way he can go to school like this," she informs Dad. Mom makes an appointment with the doctor. Henry is very feverish, and if that wasn't enough, what had been a dull headache had developed into a splitting headache. It feels to him like a fire is blazing just behind his eye sockets. That's because the battle in his body has reached crisis proportions. Hordes of bacteria have slipped past one of the weak areas of the defense and taken over in an area very dangerous to Henry's health. They somehow got lost from the main battle area and were carried by a small vein that extends from the nose to the eye socket. Then they traveled from the eye socket to the blood channels around the brain, all the time emitting toxins and increasing in numbers. The Defense System Commander declares a state of emergency, and the full weight of the defense system is now brought to bear on this battle. It's a war, one being fought on a number of fronts. The most dangerous of these is the blood channels below the mainframe computer, the brain. At first, Henry hears a vague voice, that of his mother softly saying his name. After that, he hears from afar her whispering prayers for his recovery. Then he fades. Over the next couple of days, he finds himself in a confused, semi-conscious daze, one where he sometimes hears the voices of doctors and nurses over the constant beeps of medical monitors. Henry doesn't know it, but he was rushed to the hospital after his alert doctor diagnosed a rare condition. The blood in the spaces below his brain clotted, and the infection started flowing over into his bloodstream. This is a condition called septic shock. Within the depths of Henry's body, the body's defense force is virtually beaten, even though the white blood cell Marines persist, consistently and accurately shooting their antibody missiles into the bacteria, and then engulfing and digesting them. The doctors decide to employ an intelligent weapon of mass destruction designed to kill the bacteria in hordes while sparing the white blood cell Marines. This secret weapon, called an antibiotic, starts to turn the battle in favor of the defense system. Finally, Henry starts to recover, slowly at first, then faster and faster as the Marines' efforts gain the upper hand. Although his condition is critical, gradually Henry is hauled back from the edge of death by strategic treatment, the dedicated doctors and nurses in the hospital's intensive care unit, and his mother's prayers. Henry is now back at school, and the biology project he's handing in today is entitled The Dangerous Triangle of the Face. The project tells about a young man who suffered from a sinus infection and developed the same medical condition that Henry did. It's the true story of an 18-year-old young man who came to the same intensive care unit a year before Henry did. Tragically, the difference was that the other young man died. Henry also told his own story and explained how important it is to respect the area from the corners of the mouth to the bridge of the nose, which is known as the dangerous triangle of the face.